It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you all week? We started off the week shaking the Monday morning blues, and we talked about signs that your marriage is so toxic that no therapy would even be able to fix it. Well, we started off with talking about somebody's on autopilot. Yep. Ain't nobody getting nowhere because at least one of you is on straight autopilot. They don't care. They ain't listening. They not worried about it. They just waiting for it all to end. You listen, we done all been in a relationship where at one point or another, somebody is on autopilot. So, I don't know, but we do know that that's not going to work. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for me. When your therapist is so annoyed from mediating fights, that's what goes on during the session. Nothing but fights. And your therapist is just doing the mediation, just sitting there waiting for you two to finish going back and forth. Yep. You just may not make it. What about you just don't have anything to say because you're afraid of stepping on eggshells? Yes, you're stepping on a landmine every time you open up your mouth. So to keep from setting things off, you say nothing. Well, that's another indication that it's not going to go well. You might as well just go ahead and give up. And you know what? Somebody says, Pastor Steph, how do you say just go ahead and give up? Listen and listen to me again. There are times when somebody has got to go east and somebody has got to go west. Yeah, it gets there. And I've seen the best relationships that have gone through that. Yeah, they are wonderful now, and people would never know that somebody made the decision to just stand firm on that at one point or another. And I'm not suggesting that happened in every situation, but there are times when that has to go on. So you got to make that decision. But that's only if God is in the middle of it. And that's what he's indicating. Because maybe the way you started off just wasn't good. Maybe you started off at one point and now you hit some type of plateau that made you plummet. Yeah, believe it or not, sometimes you get there where it's like you riding on high and everything's going well. And then all of a sudden you just tank. And there has got to be this remedy for your relationship. This is your relationship. And every relationship does not go through the same thing. Every relationship does not have the same answer. So, listen, it is what it is. And if that's what God is saying, in order for this to work, then so be it. That's what has to be done. Because we have to do what God tells us to do. And sometimes we just don't have the answer. We've tried our absolute best, but it has not worked out. So let's just try to make it happen that way. Okay? All right. Well, we did get a switch tip this week. Yes, we did. Do not interfere with the real work. Oh, there we go. There we go. The real work that is in the Lord, the real work that God is giving to be done. Not you, not me, but the real work that only God can do. Okay? Because sometimes, like I said, God has got to kind of hone in on what's going on, and that real work has to take place. And if you're interfering with it because you're afraid of separating because of, what somebody's going to say, or your mother and father never separated, so why should you separate? Or your sister's marriage is, they didn't been married for 14, 15 years, and they didn't have to go through that, and you're trying to save face, and you don't want to go through that. And listen, don't interfere with the real work. The real work must take place, and don't stand in the way. Do not stand in the way. Okay? All right. What else did we talk about during the week? Well, we talked about high school in the Bronx and how is it going down. Well, one principal is really doing his thing as he is making sure that his graduating class graduates. Yes, 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 yes. It is so exciting to hear that in an urban neighborhood, somebody is really taking this thing seriously and putting the pedal to the metal and seeing to it that these kids get up out this school without just coasting and pushing them across the line. No more social education going on. We got some real hard work being done. And again, hopefully, he sets the example. This principal sets the example, and other principals may, get the job done the same way. We're also talking about that deportation that we're hoping does not happen before the kidney transplant takes place. Yes, the kidney transplant of two brothers is on the line. If Trump has his way, maybe it will not happen. But prayers up to our Jose Alfredo and his brother. Jose Alfredo is the one who is in need of the kidney transplant, and we're just praying that it all goes through before the deportation happens, and that way the life can be saved. Okay, so we got to make sure that we keep the prayers going for those who are caught up in this web, who really, really, really need to have something happen first. If it has to happen, it has to happen. But you know what? Sometimes God can kind of hold back. He's held it back for us. So hopefully he'll just hold back all of that madness until this kidney transplant takes place and there will be a life that is saved. Okay? All right. What else did we talk about? Oh, we talked about the way Christians use social media the wrong way. Yep. Even we do this the wrong way. You know what? We talked about embracing anonymity as a shield. People hide behind Facebook. They get their bravado going on. They get, as Pastor KL said yesterday, they get to be the president, of the club, and they really don't have to do some of the hard work. They can make things look like it's going well, just hiding. Brother Al had a couple of crazy stories that he had, as to how people utilize social media to do their thing. We don't want to get caught up in that. That's what the regular people do. And as people of God, we don't want to be distracted from what social media can really mean. Social media can mean that, we can get the word of God out. the right way. We can reach people across the lands that we would not normally be able to reach. We want to make sure that God gets his just due through this technology. He's enabled us to do the technology. Now let's just make sure we do what we need to do. Well, yesterday's conversation was real comical, thanks to Brother Al and Pastor KL and Shantice, just touching on some things that Christian people do. I felt like I was in a church folk segment, and it was funny. It was funny. And it was a good conversation yesterday. So those are just some things that went down here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph this week. So hopefully, you have told a friend and, you've allowed them to become blessed with, this ministry. And we have finally arrived here by the grace of God. It is Freestyle Friday. Yes, yes, and yes. We have come through the month of March. We have entered into the month of April, y'all. Yes, this 4 months. Oh my goodness gracious. We've reached the 4th month. January, February, March, April. Yes. God is moving things along, and I'm praying that we are going through this life the way God wants us to. We have come to Men's Day here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph. So I'm going to give you a quick moment to go get that healthy breakfast. Yes, that oatmeal, those sardines. Yep. Remember, we've talked about what healthy breakfast looks like over here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph. Please go ahead and tell somebody that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Learned about. Septima Poinsett Clark graduated from a Charleston, South Carolina high school in 1916. She wanted to teach locally, but due to her race, she wasn't allowed. She went to Johns Island and taught for 3 years before returning home. As the years passed, she taught children during the day and adults at night. When she wasn't teaching, she helped in the fight that gave Black people the right to be principals in Charleston public schools. She also fought for equal pay for white and Black teachers and worked with the NAACP and the YWCA.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning again. Welcome back to His Due Time with Pastor Steph. If I'm on the same page, I see some names and some shout outs on one screen that I'm not seeing on another, and I'm a little perplexed as to which one is right. Well, the bad part is I can see one clearly and the other one I can't see at all. So I'm going to go with the one I can see. So if you didn't say good morning and this is saying you said good morning, just pretend like you said good morning and send me another good morning. Okay? Okay. We're just going to play the game this morning. It's Friday. It's Freestyle Friday. We get to do whatever we want to do. So I'm going to play whatever game I need to play. I just want to say good morning to you and just get a shout out back from you. Let's start off with our girl Ketty. Hey Ketty, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning, Terrence. Good morning, and good morning. We got a shout out from our boy Serge. Hey Serge. We got a shout out from Tamika. Hey Tamika, good morning. A shout out from our girl Teresa. Hey, Teresa. Yeah, see, Serge. Serge, thank you, Serge. See, Serge knows how to play the game. Thank you so much. We got a shout out from our friend Daquan. What's up, Daquan? Thanks for showing up this morning. Yeah, we like to see you in the room. And we got a shout out from our ladies who hold it down in the back for us. Our girl Shantice. Hey, thank you, Shantice, for holding it down. And we got a shout out from our girl Anika. Good morning, Anika. So, I don't know. Just play the game. I don't know. If you want to say good morning to me. If you got a comment, shout out your comment. I'm gonna pick it up one way or another. Maybe God will let this good eye see a little better this morning, so I can enjoy what's really going on. All right. Well, you know how we do on Friday mornings. We do two things. One thing, we do some crazy kind of trivia. And it's about that time for our crazy trivia before we get into celebrity news. So we got a really weird kind of trivia this morning and some stories. So we've got some secrets that parents died without really knowing. And I read one of these things, and I don't know, maybe some of these parents died just in time before finding out these secrets, because maybe these secrets would have killed them. So let's see what we talking about here. One person says, my mom still doesn't know most of my stories. Well, she dead now, so this might, as they say, make them turn over in their grave. We know that don't happen, but in any way, she had no idea I was picking up drugs from people in a very notorious biker gang. I'm sure she had no idea. I was 16 when I started selling. I was using at 15. By 17, it was coke, meth, mushrooms, LSD, and my drug of choice, Oxycontin, which developed into a very serious decade-long addiction. It got to the point, this was the very early 2000s, before it became a widespread problem, so they were still relatively cheap, where I had $2,000 a month habit just on Oxy. Woo. When I was 18, I narrowly avoided getting caught with a 1/4 ounce of coke, a half sheet of LSD, and a bunch of Oxy. And I mean narrowly avoided it. Back then, that would have gotten me at least 15 years. It took becoming a parent to finally clean up. When I was 27, I've been clean ever since. I am now 40 and rarely even drink. Well, yeah, Daquan, I'm with you. Wow. See, I'm the parent. I'm glad the parent did die. As a parent, I'm please, Shantice, keep your secrets. I don't need to know the secrets. I don't need those secrets. Woo. The man my mother knew her whole life as her father is not. I found this out through 23andMe. My grandmother, who recently passed away a couple of weeks ago, must have had an affair. There are a host of reasons why I keep this from her. My mother was with who she thought was her father for quite a while, as he was dying a couple of years ago, and also her mother, as she withered away in a nursing home and finally expired a few weeks ago. My father agrees that this information will not fall on very accepting ears. And I just lost my little thing here. Let's see. I found out since then who my real grandfather is, who my grandfather had an affair with, but he passed away years ago anyway. She has a half sister I met who knows about my mom. Wow. Wow, these some long confessions, y'all. If y'all got some confessions, that somebody, that you want to tell somebody that passed away already, I welcome it. Maybe you need to get it off your chest this morning. I don't know. Shantice, that does not mean you. I don't need to know nothing. I ain't dead yet. So please hold on to whatever you got. I was very violently sexually assaulted when I was 17 by my gymnastics coach. He held me captive for an entire weekend, and the assault lasted the entire time. I never had a close relationship with my parents, especially my mother, who was quick to deflect any complaint or concern to make anything that happened in my life that was negative feel like my fault. Additionally, they were never the comforting or nurturing types. Back then, I was sure this would go the same way. I never told them, and they still don't know. I even gave a fake name at the hospital where I went after the assault so they wouldn't find out. The statute of limitations has long since run out. I'm in my 50s, and my rapist was never punished for what he did. Wow. Oh, I'm glad I don't know these people. Oh my goodness gracious. I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and became sexually active at 16. As a teen boy, I was a horny kid. I slept with all but two of my friends' moms. If they found out, they never confronted me about it. I eventually became a major commodity for middle-aged women, but I still dated ladies my age. Now I am married to my wife of 20 years, who is 20 years younger than me, and she has no idea how many partners I have in my past. I am not inclined to tell her, although she has alluded to knowing that I was somewhat active sexually in my 20s. I wouldn't have traded my experience for all the money in the world. I think that's what bothers me the most. I don't regret breaking my friends' trust and shagging their moms and sisters. Oh, I'm glad I don't know these people. And who's dead in this situation? We're talking about confessing after the people didn't die. Well, I guess if he didn't been with some older people's mothers. Oh my goodness gracious. Wow. Oh my goodness gracious. Shantice, please hold on to you. I ain't dead yet. You don't want to kill Pastor Steph on air, do you? See that sign that says on air? You don't want me to fall out the chair and kill over the night, right? This morning, right? Okay, good. I found my dad's cocaine. I feel like I don't know him anymore. I never want him to know I found it. I'm still a minor and still live with them. Who's dead? Wait, let me go back. Maybe I misread this caption here. I did. It says they're sharing secrets that their parents will die never knowing. Okay, Pastor Steph read it wrong. Because I was trying to figure out who died in these stories. Confessing all of this stuff. Let me see what's going on in this chat room, because Daquan and Terrence seem like they got a lot to say this morning. Daquan, no ma'am, I already spoke to God about it. Laugh out loud. I think this game is really, but baby boomers so much that generation needs to get off their chest. Yeah. But 50s are not baby boomers. 50s are X's. Yeah, that's us. Oh, Terrence says, nope, not me. My mommy is still here. And also, she watches this show. Nope. I'm with you, Terrence. I'm with you. Terrence says, I know her stories are crazy. Yes, Pastor, let's keep her talking to a minimum. Yes. I can't handle it. Tamika says, this is the tea that I don't ever want to drink. Oh boy, absolutely, Tamika. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see what else people gonna take to their grave. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see if we got a couple of short ones, because these people, They confessing. Oh my gosh. When I was 16, I used to tell my parents that I was spending the weekend at my friend's house and would get on the bus to New York City. My 27-year-old boyfriend lived in Long Island, and we would spend the weekend doing drugs and drinking. I was approached in Port Authority more than once by men asking if I needed a place to stay or if I needed money, pimps or traffickers. I'm sure I dodged a bullet on that wild stuff. I supervised my own child better. Well, you would know. You would definitely know. When I was 14, a good friend who was 16, I thought she was very urbane, cool, and sophisticated, and I was still very naive. Her older brother was 18, and I had a massive crush on him. My parents were working long hours, so I spent a lot of time at their house trying to keep up with their level of cool. I smoked pot and did some lines of coke with them. Oh my gosh. I lost my virginity to the brother. Eventually, my mom found out some of it, but not all, and insisted I end my friendship, which I had been considering. I still regret that I was sucked into this situation. I think I was just flattered by their attention. Wow. Okay. I constantly fantasized about murdering and my verbally and physically abusive stepfather and then killing myself when I was a teen. He treated my mom like it. And one day he punched me in the face for not washing my dirty dishes, which left a permanent gash above my eyebrow. I was really depressed and wanted to die, so I thought I might as well take him with me. I always tried to talk myself into finding some way to kill him, but I never could go through with it. Well, thank you, Jesus. The closest I ever came to doing something was when he was asleep on the couch and my mom was going to work. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and just stood over him for a few minutes, contemplating if I should do it or not. Of course, I never did. Thankfully, he and my mom separated less than a year after that incident. My depression was minimized tremendously after that. Wow. Oh my goodness gracious. Wow. Oh my goodness. Can't see anything, y'all. Oh my gosh. Wow. I know about my mother's affair. When I first heard rumors about it, I ended the rumors behind her back. I later found out that the rumors were true. I will never tell my father because it would break him. Wow. We're going to come back to these. I ain't got much of a main topic, so we're coming back to some of these. Wow. Wow. Well, giving God thanks that some of this stuff is going to be taken to the grave because this stuff is serious, man. Whoa. I don't know, y'all. I ain't got them kind of confessions. Thank God I ain't got that kind of former life. All right, let's see what's going on in the celebrity world. But before we do that, let's see what's going on in this chat room. God's grace, she is blessed, Daquan says. See, now that one triggered me. I prayed as a child for my mother's man to die or for me to get rich so I can make him disappear. I thank God for forgiveness and his grace and mercy. Amen. 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 You know, you think about, and we're going to come back, we're going to talk about this later, about how God just rescued us from some stuff, you know, and, you know, some of the stuff is what we would consider minor, and some of the other stuff is pretty major. Wow. All right, what are we talking about in celebrity world? All right. Well, some rumors are definitely circulating about last Friday. Yep. That's going to be the name of Ice Cube's new Friday installment. Yes. So the cat is out the bag, and there's going to be a next installment. Ice Cube is hooking up with some of the individuals that help to push Friday, Next Friday, Players Club, and All About the Benjamins. So, and I'm talking about the powers that be, not some of the A-list actors that were in the first installment. So he said that thanks to, they've been talking about this for a long time from what I'm reading here. And unfortunately, he said that they've dragged their feet on this thing. So they've lost John Witherspoon, they've lost Tiny Lister, and they've lost AJ Johnson. And he was like, yo, we got to get this done before we lose somebody else. So from what I understand, Chris Tucker is returning. Yeah. And they've got another comedian that is going to be playing Chris Tucker's son. Yeah. Now, they did some, they put the word out to what they call X, which used to be Twitter. And some of the responses, John Witherspoon not being in it is going to be odd. Well, to me, not really, because the last two installments, well, at least one of the installments didn't include John Witherspoon anyway, right? Friday After Next. Yeah, so it would be nice, of course, if John Witherspoon were to be in it. But now here's one of the very common statements that a lot of people had on Twitter. Please, no social media comedians, they are not movie funny. And a lot of people said that. Please don't put any influencers or social media influencers in it. I hate this trend of movies now, so please don't put any of these people in it. And they've got, what else? They've got, all right, last Friday is officially happening. And we want DJ Pooh to write it. Now, he was a part of that first Friday. Yes, I do remember that. And they are really excited. They said, if y'all just gonna put Instagram comedians in this with Cube, keep it. So they are really, really, really not feeling these Instagram comedians. Shanti says John Witherspoon was in all of them. It is going to be a little weird that he's missing. He was. I know he was in the second installment because that's when he was in the dog. He did when they showed him chasing the dogs, but I don't remember him being in the last one. Oh, okay. I guess I slept on. You know what? I loved Friday. I wasn't crazy about Next Friday and Friday After Next. No, they didn't do anything for me. I may have seen them once, and that's probably why I don't remember John Witherspoon being in the last one. But I wasn't. Now the mother, what's her name? Can't think of her name. Thelma, the one who played the mother from the first installment, and Regina King, they weren't in the last two installments. That's when they introduced Day, the cousin. So I wasn't too kid. And that's when what's his name played Pinky. Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about them. Serge says, yeah, I agree. They're not that funny. It's like they're trying too hard to be funny and their acting is not as great because they're trying to do both. Yes, Thelma from Amen. Yes, Daquan. I agree, Serge. You know, the people are right. You know, those Instagram comedians, they're Instagram comedians. They're not TV comedians, movie comedians. So they wouldn't be that funny. And yeah, the mother was, oh, she was. Regina King was only the first one. But where was I? I have to go back and look. I have to go because I don't remember the mother being in the second one. She was? Okay, I got to go back and check it out. I got to go back and check it out. And then next week, Friday, I'm going to come back and talk about it. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Because I didn't really, I really missed out on that because I don't remember any of that at all. All right, what else is going on? All right. Now, for those of you who like a different world, well, Netflix is signing on for the sequel pilot. Now, the story goes that Dwayne and Whitley's daughter is now going to be going to Hillman. And they're not saying whether any of the other actors or anybody will be returning to Hillman. But they're anticipating that the new generation, which would be our alphas and our Z's, that they would pick up on what do they call it? On a different world. Now, Felicia Pride, she's from Queen Sugar, Grey's Anatomy, and Bel Air. Shantice, if you could pull up Felicia Pride's picture, because I'm not really remembering that name. Well, they say she's going to serve as the show's showrunner, writer, and executive producer. Yeah. So she's going to be, in that. Well, here's one of the good things. They are going back to director and producer Debbie Allen. So hopefully she'll be able to bring some of the old school. And, she's still in it. She's still doing some stuff. So maybe she'll bring something into the new school. But here's what I'm a little excited about. Remember Gina Prince by the Wood and Reggie by the Wood? Yeah. They were big in our 90s sitcoms and movies. And if I can remember correctly, Gina Prince by the Wood and Reggie by the Wood, aren't they Love and Basketball people? I think they're from Love and Basketball. For some reason, that's kind of sticking in my head. I could have that movie wrong, but I think they're responsible for Love and Basketball. Yes, thank you, Tamika. Anna Marie Horsford. Yes, she's the one that played the mom and Thelma, as well as she was in The Wayans with John Witherspoon. Yes, I couldn't remember her name. Anna Marie Horsford. Yes. So let me see who this. I don't remember her. But anyway, she's Felicia Pride, and they say she's from maybe she's from behind the scenes of Queen Sugar, Grey's Anatomy, and Bel Air. Well, she's going to be a part of this sequel to A Different World. So let me know. Y'all put in this chat room whether y'all would be interested in seeing a spinoff of this A Different World. I think I want to see it. Yeah. I don't think I'd be too mad. As long as it was, like interesting. Shanti says, I'm hoping the writing is great. Yeah. That as long as the writing is good, I'm okay. If they come with some corny stuff, no. So I'm looking forward. So y'all let me know. Daquan says, I want to see it, but not crazy excited. Okay. I can live with that. I would like to see what they got going on. Here's the problem. We don't have good sitcoms, and we definitely have no black sitcoms. No, we ain't got no sitcoms on this side of the fence. And we in trouble because, they've loaded, what do you call it? They've loaded all of our, They've loaded all of our Netflix and Prime and Peacock with all of the old shows. So you've got Moesha, you've got the Parkers, you've got Sister, you've got A Different World Now, you've got, Good Times, you've got Everybody Hates Chris, you've got like old school stuff, but you have no new black sitcoms. So, I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing what they got going on. And I'm kind of locked out. I don't know what's going on with my thing here. this is just all over the place. I don't know. Maybe it's Friday and it's tired and they don't. Okay, so Serge says, just bring new ideas to promote Black excellence. Katie says, I'll give it a try. Anika said, I would check it out, but reboots may not go well. And a Serge says, leave the old shows alone. And I'm kind of interested in seeing what's going on the new shows. I'll take a reboot. I'll try it because they're not giving us anything new. Nothing. We have nothing new to get excited about. So what else do we have really quickly in celebrity or all of this kind of stuff? Let's see. I don't feel like talking about that. Let's go to some news. Let's see what the news is talking about. So we have something to say. This is an interesting story. So I got to get another good one because I want to save that one for last. Here's another interesting one. So you got this dad who was arrested for leaving his kids in McDonald's. So the kids were 10, 6, and 1. And he initially said that he left the kids in McDonald's so he could go to for a job interview. So that wasn't true. Yes, that was the initial story. So the first day went by and that's what the story was. So there were people that felt kind of bad for him. People were, bigging him up, leave him alone. He's just trying to get a job, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, this punk was not in a job interview during the time the kids were left at McDonald's. They did some research and they found he did go on that job interview, but guess what, y'all? He was at the job, ready? From, wait. I'm going to give y'all a time because he need to be shaming himself lying. Okay, wait. They went to the job to see the time he was there. He was there from 1:12 to 1:37. Oh, Lord. And they talked to the woman who interviewed him. So technically, he wasn't there for a job interview. He went there to fill out the job application. And while he was there, the lady who was in charge of hiring talked to him. She gave him a little soft interview. So they asked her, would he be getting a return call? She said no. Well, let me tell you something. If she had considered him getting a return call, he wasn't going to get a return call after they started talking to her because already he showed signs of being in trouble. They're not going to hire him like that. So he's gone. So anyway, so here's what happened. They say at 6 something, they said he met them. Okay, here it goes. He took the kids. He went to the interview. Took the kids to McDonald's, dropped the kids off at McDonald's and took a book bag and went back to the complex. And the 10-year-old called the mother. The mother called the cops and told on the father. And the father got arrested. And they showed the camera. They went to the job. They looked at that camera. They went to McDonald's and looked at that camera. And they said the time when he left them kids at McDonald's had nothing to do with the time he was at that job from 112 to 137. This was at 6 something that the little girl, the 10-year-old, called the mother. So they don't know what he went to do. They don't know if he was doing a drug drop off. They don't know what was going on, but he lied. But here's what makes this story interesting. So Antonio Brown, who's a former NFL star, heard the story and was so moved, he started a GoFundMe for this punk. Do you know that they raised $80,000 at the GoFundMe? And he was never even at the job interview like he said. Yo, I'm telling you. So here he is, putting out and pouring out his little heart, this old NFL player, trying to get people to go into this finance donation with him. And that's probably why he got it to $80,000, because the NFL player dropped some money into that bucket. And that's how he got to $80,000. Yes. So that's the first interesting story I want to talk about. The second interesting story is about the guy out in Alabama, the cop out in Alabama, who is now going to have to face the jury about his story when he shot the man in the front yard. Let me tell you how this story goes for those of you who don't know this story. I was supposed to do this story the other day, and I think that's the day I got sick. So here's how this story goes. So maybe I should put it in Shantice's terms. She talks about Tupac and Biggie and Suge Knight and all of these kind of stuff. So let's talk about Do Time Crew. Let's use the Do Time Crew. All right, here we go. So Shantice has a car that she has not made her payments on. So Pastor KL is a repo man. So Pastor KL shows up at Shantice's house to repossess the car, and come to find out, Shantice points a gun at Pastor KL to keep him from repossessing her car. So Pastor KL goes and gets Brother Al, who's a cop, Pastor Jeff, who's a cop, and Pastor Vinny, who's a cop. And they get this mastermind plan together to back up Pastor KL. So Pastor KL can go back to Shantice's house and get this car and not be threatened. And if he is threatened by Shantice with the gun, he got backup. So they go, so Pastor KL goes back to the house, and he's got Pastor Vinny, Brother Al, and Pastor Jeff. But what they do is they covertly surround the house, and they kind of post up. So when Shantice comes out, when Pastor KL goes back to the house to repo the car, Shantice steps out on the lawn, and Brother Al jumps out and shoots Shantice 8 times, one of the two. Yeah. Kills her. So when Brother Al tells the story, he tells the story and says, well, he went there to back up Pastor KL as a cop to repo the car as somebody who would protect Pastor KL. Well, here's the problem. Out in Alabama, you're not allowed to go get cops to help with a repo. No, you've got to go through a special process. But cops are not allowed to go do backup. for repos. So already they had no business being there. So Brother Al says, well, listen, he's going on the stand your ground law, where he felt threatened that Shantice came out with her gun and was going to shoot. So he shot first because he felt threatened. And the judge says, first of all, you had no business being there as a cop. You could only be there by special circumstances. Number two, the way they posted up, if you went there, if you were there in the manner that you should have been there, then you should have shown your face. But they didn't. They handled it like a sting operation. So Brother Al, Pastor Jeff, and Pastor Vinny were all hiding behind cars and the house and the truck. And he was like, nah, y'all did that wrong. So now you killed this man. You killed Shantice unjustly. Yo. So they're like, no. He said, you're going to have to face the jury on this one. I'm not buying this stand your ground. Yay! Somebody who's finally going to be on the good side of the fence. That's how the story goes. Where's my Due Time crew? Where's my Due Time crew? Get my Due Time crew up on the screen, Shantice, for me, please. In the interim, let me see what's going on with in my chat room. Let me see what's happening up in my chat room. All right. Tamika, going back to whether we want to see the shows or not. We got Tamika who says the classics were the best. Can today's generation still speak to the past? Nope, they can't. And Shantice says, why does she have to be the person in the scenario? We got a check-in from Athena. Hey, Athena. So we're going to get these comments when we talk about this car situation. Is that my Pastor Jeff?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Fine. Thank you. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's good. All right, Pastor Jeff, we got two stories here. We got one story where the guy takes his kids to McDonald's, 10, 6, and 1, and he leaves them there. And he tells everybody that he went to a job interview, and that's why the kids were at the McDonald's. Come to find out, he did go to the job interview, but he went earlier in the daytime, and he was only there for about 15, 20 minutes. And during the time he was there, the kids were at home or wherever they were safe. They were not in McDonald's. He took the kids to McDonald's later and then went back and told the kids he was going back to the complex, and the 10-year-old called the mama and told the mama. So the mother came and picked him up, and she called the cops. Well, a former NFL player felt sorry for him because he was just trying to, do the fatherly thing, this man, who left the kids at the McDonald's, and we need to help him. So he put a GoFundMe together where they raised $80,000, only to find out that he just abandoned the kids in McDonald's to go do some illegal stuff. What you saying, Pastor Jeff, about this crazy story?
Now, he put that fundraiser together?
No, the NFL player.
Oh.
No, the NFL player heard about it and felt sorry for him and was like petitioning to the people, he's just a single dad trying to do what he needs to do, trying to get a job. And he dropped some money in that GoFundMe and kind of got everybody else to donate. So that's how they got to this $80,000 so quickly. But that was a lie. He wasn't at the job interview, and he really didn't go to the job for an interview. He went to the job to fill out an application, and while he was there, the person who he was handing the application to talked to him for a few minutes. So he was lying all across the board, Pastor Joe.
So you're asking me what I feel should be done to him?
Well, what do you think about the situation, Perry? Just the fact that he lied, got the kids up
A-
in McDonald's. You know what I'm
Another
saying?
another example of a bum of a father, irresponsible, uh, you know, care more about himself than his kids. I got no respect for the man. And, hope they punish the guy for that mess. You leaving your kids, you know what could have happened to them in McDonald's? They could have
That's
got
right.
abducted. They could have got molested. You know, you leaving your kids open. You know how I feel about that.
All
I'm very
right.
hard on that.
Well, I agree. I agree, Pastor Jeff. That was very irresponsible of him. Very irresponsible. We've got this other story out in Alabama. Did you hear how you went to that house with Pastor Vinny and Brother Al?
Yeah, why I gotta be the cop?
Wait, Pastor Jeff, you want to know why you got to be the cop. Shanti said she want to know why she got to be the one who came out with the gun.
Because
Well,
most
listen.
likely, my personality, I'd have been the one that came out with the gun.
Okay, so we're gonna switch roles. You the one that came out with the gun, and Shantice was one of the cops.
I don't want to be that neither because I'm the one that died. Let Shantice die.
Pastor Jeff, you gonna put poor Shantice up to die? Oh my goodness gracious! Why? Oh my good, yeah. So what do you think about this story? Isn't this crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they didn't, allow that to fly because that's some bullcrap. That was an execution, and
Yeah.
y'all had no business of being there. The repo guy,
Right.
first of all, when you repo a car, you're not supposed to be able to come on somebody's property to do it. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
And that guy
Yeah.
had every right to come out with a gun on his property. And you just killed, and the
Yeah.
cops just killed the man on his property when the guy had a right to pull a gun on his property. You understand?
Yeah, this was some interesting story. And I too am so glad that you got a judge who had enough sense as well as, somebody who, was on the up and up and said, yo, y'all handled this wrong. Y'all handled this like this was some sting operation. Y'all all posted up, hiding behind the house and the cars and all of this. Y'all weren't even supposed to be there as cops. They're not allowed to be there as cops in Alabama.
I know.
So y'all just went there all wrong. All wrong, Pastor Jeff. Oh my goodness gracious. All righty. Tamika says, with people driving over repo man's heads, we need cops now. But definitely not these cops. Absolutely. Right, because we did a story this week about a guy who was getting his car repossessed. And when he was on the ground trying to hook up the car, Pastor Jeff, the people who owned the car ran over his head with the car.
His head?
So
they ran over
his head. Literally his head.
They killed him.
Yeah. No, he didn't die. Thank God he didn't die.
Oh.
Yeah. But he was able to grab the camera. And that's how they have it on camera. How he died, it was like a Toyota car, some sedan, some small car, and they literally ran over his head. So, you need some backup out here to do these repos, but not the people like this. Not the people like this. Terrence says, agreed, they was gonna kill that person from the start. Yeah, they were gonna kill him. And Serge says, bet you the cop was on our street, outside of the fence. Yeah. I'm sure the one getting repoed, I'm sure Serge you're talking about. Yeah, he was on our side of the fence probably, and that's what ended up happening. All right, let's talk to Pastor KL. See what he's got to say. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning, Pastor Steph. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm making it. Thank you.
All right, we both hanging on in there, pushing through. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for pushing through. So you've got this guy, his father, who left them kids in the McDonald's, 10, 6, and 1, supposedly to go on a job interview. Well, they did the research, come to find out he was never at no job interview during the time that the kids were in McDonald's. He took his backpack and went back to the apartment complex. They still trying to figure out what did he go back there to do, because he sure was not at no job interview. What do they need to do with this father, Pastor KL?
Oh, he need to be in jail for a long time. First of all, okay, 10 years old. A lot of times we act like the 10-year-old is adult, and you take care of the little ones. But 1 year old, you leave a 1-year-old at McDonald's? Is that bop, 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 bop? I'm loving it. At 1 year old, what are we doing? You don't have the mentality, the mindset to know that you should not be leaving the 1-year-old, who I'm guessing you still got to change Pampers. You still got to feed it, on a schedule. The 1-year-old, that I don't know, that you're asking the 10-year-old to take on too much. And then I heard you say, they did a GoFundMe because he's a single father, but they got in touch with the mother real quick.
So where
the mama pop out from?
They probably got like a visitation type of thing. They shared, the visitation with the parents.
Yeah, I'm a little leery about that too, because being a man who had custody of both his son and daughter, when they give the father custody, there's something wrong with the mother.
No, he didn't have custody. He just had the children at the time.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that he was a single parent.
Well, no, that's the way the NFL player put it. Like,
okay.
He's like a single dad, and he's trying to find a job, trying to do the right thing. So let's raise some money for him, because he needs some help. That type of thing. No, that was an NFL player playing on everybody's emotion.
Wow. So he went for a job interview that was only there for 15 minutes. That really wasn't a job interview. And ultimately, he still got paid. He got paid for a job he didn't get.
Right.
Wow.
So they're giving them the money yet. They haven't dispersed the money. At the time of the article, they had raised $80,000. Well, he going to jail. He won't be getting that money no way.
Right.
He getting the money no way because he went to jail. But the thing was, it was comical to me that they asked the person who he handed the application to, would he be getting a call back? And she was like, no. No, she ain't getting no call back, because now I got the cops talking to me about you. You wouldn't hire him.
You're absolutely right. I definitely. First of all, now you better be the brand of my company, and you're already on TV. No, I don't need that kind of publicity. I don't need that.
Right. So even if he was a prospect, he ain't one no more. Oh my goodness. Now this Alabama situation where, this cop tried to pull this stand your ground law to justify him shooting the guy who was getting his car repossessed, only for the judge to say, nah, y'all had this all wrong. You were supposed to be there as a cop to help nobody to help Pastor KL repossess the car from Shantice. If Shantice came out on that lawn and showed her gun to Pastor KL, listen, that's the chance he took. He's repo guy. But you done went and got 3 cops. Y'all post up And then as soon as Shanti steps out on they said they had Shantice didn't even she went to like take the gun off of Pastor KL. Pastor Jeff, Al shot her 8 times or 18 times, something to that effect.
Well,
Woo!
I think the scenario was a little wrong because Pastor Jeff wouldn't have been hiding. You know what I mean? He'd have showed his face. You know, Brother Al would have showed his face. So it had to be Vinny. You know what I mean? There had to be Pastor Vinny out there. You know, he the only crazy one that had just been out there like, hey, can we talk? You know what I mean? That's Pastor Vinny. So, I could hear Pastor Vinny now. Listen, put down the gun. Pastor Brenda wouldn't like this. Let me tell you what we do with our sons when we get repoed. You know what I mean? And to the fact that you know, Shantice wanted to shoot her uncle. This is a messed up family right here. You know, I'm not understanding this family. But yeah, I think that was totally wrong. But yeah, it wouldn't. Jeff and I wouldn't have been hiding. They'd have been out there. They'd show their face. It'd have been Vinny because Vinny didn't really want to go. You know what I mean? He just happened to be in the car. He going for the ride. You know what I mean? And then when Santi pulled out the gun, he was scared. You know what I mean? The Brenda story didn't work, so he had to shoot her.
My goodness. Me and Shanti, you know, the climate of judges these days and how, you know, they've been making some real erroneous judgment calls from the bench. And here it is. It's really nice to see that there's a judge that is really standing firm on what's right and what's wrong. And he's like, no.
Especially in Alabama. Especially in Alabama.
Yes. You know, so it's really refreshing to hear that, you know, this is how this is being handled. Really, really good. Really good. All righty. So where's Pastor Jeff? Is he still with us or Shantice took him off because he's off camera? There's a Pastor Jeff, you still with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right, just want to make sure you're still with us because I want to talk about two different things. Well, one, I want to talk about this topic of this stay home, Black people stay home on National Day of Action, which is tomorrow. So for those of you who don't know, and I really had to do some research because I've been seeing this for a minute, but couldn't quite understand what was going on. So here's what's happening. The people on the other side of the fence, they have formulated a day they're calling a National Day of Action because they feel that Elon Musk, Trump, and his administration, they're putting their hands off on everything. So it's like they're calling it Hands Off National Day of Action. And they're saying that everything they can get control over, they're getting control over. And they are tired of it and they want to take the country back. Now, the people on this side of the fence, they've got something called Sit Your $8 down day and do not get involved with this. Because what they're saying is, we told you from the beginning that Trump was a bad choice. We didn't vote for Trump. You voted for Trump. And we did our job at the polls. You didn't do your job at the polls and you voted him in. So now you've got dozens and dozens of events. They said so far more than 600 events have been planned across all states of United States, as well as Europe and Canada. Now, why Europe and Canada is involved, I don't know, because this is specifically for Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they're saying up to 1 million people are going to be involved, and they're saying that, you know what? No, Black people stay home. Do not get involved. Do not be out here protesting, because when you get out here and protest on this April 5th day, when all hell breaks loose, we're going to be looking like the bad guys. Let them go out there. Let them picket. Let them protest. Let them fight their battle, because this is ultimately their fight. Pastor Jeff, what say you?
I think I agree with that, for the most part, because we're going to be the ones that they're going to, to get in the most trouble out there. They're going to be targeting us. You understand? And I agree, because most of us did not vote for him. Okay? Most of us. We had a group that did, but most of us did not. So I agree. I agree.
Okay. Pastor KL, what say you about this here?
I definitely agree. I mean, being that I am in Alabama, yeah, we need to stay in the house, probably in the basement. We don't even need to be by the windows. We don't need nowhere visual where they can see us. You know what I mean? So, it's like run and duck for cover. We'll come out the next day.
Now they're saying that there are going to be some Black people who are still going to get out there and protest and be involved with this. So the Black voices have said, listen, take this warning. Don't be out there. Stay out of the way. Do something that will help you become more progressive in your community. Be more self-sufficient. All my Black folks, y'all better not be out there trying to rally. Make sure on April 5th that you are not at home, that you're at home, that you're minding your business, reading a book, learning a new skill. Make sure you're not there. And there's some Black people that says, I'm going to be there anyway. Now, Pastor Jeff, what would you say to somebody Black who said, hey, I'm going to be there anyway? What would you say to them?
Go ahead. Go ahead with your fool self. If they want to put their body and their life on the line like that, because they got to know we're a target and got to know that Trump's agenda is mainly to get us up out of this country, okay? And stop the takeover of minorities over them. So go ahead. That's their life. That's their body.
All righty. Pastor KL, Pastor Jeff says, go ahead with your fool self. What do you say? What would you say to somebody?
Listen, I would tell Bullseye, if he want to be out there, go ahead. X mark the spot. You do what you can. People are not that bright. They don't look at it from all sides. They just look at it from one side. Myself, since this whole thing has stopped, started, I have not been to Walmart. But you hear so many excuses on why we should go to Walmart. We ain't got nothing else. We need Walmart. Before Walmart, we still ate. There's places like New York. You got to really travel to get to a Walmart. The Walmart ain't in your backyard. So you're doing all that traveling. How many stores are you passing before you get to Walmart? I just don't understand the excuses that we make for them.
Okay. Well, some of our comments in the chat room. Daquan says, I somewhat agree because I did my part already. Anika says they also believe that if blacks protest on this level, it would give Trump the excuse to start martial law. And Daquan says, you better than me, to each his own. Now, that was one of the big things that was stated, this martial law issue. And now, what do you think the likelihood of this martial law being started, Pastor Jeff, if we get out there as black people and brown people? You think there's a chance for martial law?
I believe that is, I didn't think about that, but yeah, I think that would give Trump the excuse to kill us in the street. All right? It really would. It'll give him the excuse. And he don't care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pastor Kale, do you think that there should be a concern for martial law?
Yeah, I mean, I think that once we step out of there, we're saying, okay, I'm on suicide watch. It's okay for me to die. I'm gonna die for the cause. Now everybody thinks they're Esther. If I die, let me die. I'm going. You know what I mean? I'm just not understanding this whole thing. You've seen what's been going on. You've seen from other nationalities how they doing people getting off the bus, and you want to get on the bus. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Now, there's still, you brought up, Pastor KL, the issue that we're still boycotting these stores, namely Target is taking the biggest hit out here. Yet still, Target is not, they have not gotten back up on their feet at all since this whole DEI thing went bad. Pastor Jeff, do you think we need to just leave Target alone altogether? Or here's my question: do you think that once if they should start a DEI initiative all over again, should we now support Target? Or what about all these other stores such as Walmart that we're told to stay away from? If they open up the doors to DEI again, should we now support these and patronize these stores again?
Yeah, I mean, because they trying. They like, okay, I repent. We Christians, right? We forgive, right? So, if they gonna go ahead and they realize, that was the purpose of us doing it anyway, to show them if we snatch our dollars, we gonna mess your business up. So if they come back and comply, I think we should support.
Okay. Pastor Kale, what's your thought?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. If you see the wrong of your ways, you trying to turn yourself around. Yeah, we can work together. We can work, but don't just do it to put the front up, and you really don't like us anyway. We got people on the other side of the fence that are smiling in our face and ready to burn a cross in our yard. When they get behind the sheets. You know what I mean? As long as you don't have the mask on, you my friend because I know who you are. But then you get with your brothers and put the sheets on, and I don't know you, and you burn a cross in my yard. So yeah, I mean, if you do it for the right reason, I don't mind supporting. I don't like Target anyway, whether it's whether they're involved or not. I'm not going to Target.
Yeah,
how would you know?
I don't go neither.
How would you know if they were being real or not?
You really, at that point, you really wouldn't. That's why I would automatically be leery. Because you were standing firm on not wanting to deal with us, but now because it's hurting your business, because us is not coming, now you want us back.
Okay. Hey, Brother Al, good morning.
Top of the morning. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing?
All right. Thank you for joining us. All right. So we got this question on the table. They have this day of action tomorrow. And this is the other people on the other side of the fence. They are now warring against Trump and his administration and Elon Musk. They're like, they got their hands off of everything. So they're naming this day tomorrow, Hands Off. Let me get the full name. Hands Off National Day of Action. And they're saying, Black people, stay at home. Make sure you don't get out there and take part of this National Day of Action, because we did our part. We told you from the beginning, do not vote for Trump. This is what he was going to do. He did what he said he was going to do. And now you want to stand out there and protest, put up all these events. We're not going to be a part of this because we told you don't. It's not going to be a good look for us. There's an issue of a possibility of martial law. So we need to just stay at home. What's your thought?
Oh yeah, most definitely. We need to mind our business. Like you said, we did our part. Did you come out and help us when we did our part? No, sir. And like you said, we told you don't go out there and vote for them, and you did it. So now you get what you get. No, we did our part. We took care of our business. Y'all take care of y'all business. No, sir. And then again, we looking at getting the backlash with the martial law. Not going to be open season. No, sir. It's duck season, not brother season. So no, sir. No,
Okay.
sir. So mind our business.
Okay. So now the question is, all right, so you've got, people are still not patronizing Target. They said 8 weeks. It's been 8 weeks. They're still down. Their numbers are still down. They're not recovering because people are still not shopping there. My question is, if these companies that we're supposed to be staying away from, such as Target, Walmart, Amazon, all these places, if they were to now put in a DEI program, should we go back and patronize them? Would you go back and patronize them?
Yeah, I would. 'Cause that was the purpose of this whole thing. To let you know, hey, listen, our money matter. And if you can't do right, we're gonna show you how your business will go down and how much, we showing you how much you need us. Okay. And so that was the whole, I believe that was the whole purpose, not to shut them completely down, but let them know, hey, listen, our money works too. And you're gonna respect us. So, I'm cool with that.
Okay. This is we've been talking for years about how Black dollars matter. And I think this is the first time we've really had an opportunity to show them that Black dollars matter. This is something that we should now make a practice of doing. Pastor
Hmm.
Jeff, is this something that we should make a practice of doing? We see that it's working, and this is something that we need to be doing on a regular basis to make sure that people understand that the Black dollars matter. We need to make sure we stand our ground. We need to make sure that we show them what we're made of, and this is how we should move forward ongoing.
Yes, I agree. We should. We should pick, every year we should pick certain days that we do this to remind them of how powerful we are.
Okay. Before we go further, there's a statement here that says, no, they showed their true colors. I won't support. They need to go bankrupt. What do you feel about that, Pastor Jeff? Somebody's saying, Serge is saying, listen, they showed the true colors about the DEI. I'm not going back. If they decide that they're going to now put in some DEI program, no, they should go bankrupt. What do you say for that particular movement?
Then we probably should bankrupt them all. And then where are we going to go to get our deals and everything else? You understand what I'm saying? If that's the case, bankrupt them all and then let's open up our own. You understand? But we're not going to do that. So, take Target out, then Walmart just makes more money, and then what about Walmart? You know, shouldn't we take them out? You know, I mean, I'm just saying,
Okay.
I don't agree.
Okay. All right, brother Al. I'll ask the question that I did ask Pastor Jeff. I'll put that back on the table. You know, should we? Pastor Jeff said, "Listen, we should make this an annual thing. One day a year, we should hold our dollars off. Don't shop to let people know, these merchants know, these big conglomerates know on a regular basis that hey, our dollars matter, and we're going to show you each year how much our dollars matter. Do you feel that we need to do that?"
Yeah, absolutely. Because and not just with the merchants, even with these name brand stuff. I get on the kids here about that. We're doing to these small stores, or these stores that got the certain merchandise, but we also need to do it to these big stores. I still haven't got past what Gucci did to us when they made that blackface sweater, and everybody's still going around wearing Gucci. And let them know, listen, no, you can't do that. That's disrespectful to us. And we say, so they looking at us in the face. Oh, I could be disrespectful to them. They still gonna buy our stuff, or say, I didn't make this for black people. I made this for my people, and we still buy their stuff. So I agree with Pastor Jeff. We need to put our foot down to show you who money is in control. Because we, as black folks, I looked it up. We spend trillions of dollars, not billion, trillions of dollars on name brand items.
Mhm.
And if we stop it, we can show them. And I agree with that. I do disagree with Serge. Like, okay, they did what they did, because if not, then you're gonna support somebody else, because you need to buy items. For whether it's for your home or whatever like that. And Walmart, when you look it up, is a big money supplier to Trump, and they got the cheapest sales. So where you think people gonna go in these times of need, things are rough? We're gonna go to Walmart. I got to go there and get my pistachios. They cheaper than anywhere else. They're cheaper than anywhere else. So so I agree with Pastor Jeff. Hey, listen, okay, we showed y'all see the hurt now. Now do better. You don't do better, we're gonna get you again. So I agree with that.
Okay. Pastor KL. Um, Pastor Jeff says, do this annually. And Serge says, no, we should not go back to them anymore. They showed us their true colors. We need to leave them alone. What do you say about each thing?
Well, for what Pastor Jeff said, I think that's not going to work. And I tell you why. Because I'm in the retail business. I once explained before that everything goes against LY, meaning what you made last year. So all us black folks is going to do is we're going to buy everything up the day before and the day after, which is going to, okay, so the day before, they're going to have an increase. So whatever they lose the day after, the day we're supposed to be boycotting, they're not going to lose it, because they're going to make it the day before and the day after. I think we should just go ahead and boycott the company, period, because then they'll definitely lose. They're going to get it either in the front end or on the back end. They may not shop that day, but they're still winning for the week. So that's not going to work. As far as what Serge says, my question would be now, as a pastor, when in my former years, I showed myself, and it wasn't good. So because I showed myself to God, should He have not forgiven me? If He didn't, I wouldn't be a pastor today. So how does that work as a Christian base? If they're not saying, they're not repenting, or if they're now repenting, and we still saying, well, you was a heathen back then, so I'm not listening to your repentance. What does that make us?
Okay. All right, let's read some of these comments and see what the room says. So Daquan says, but how will we know if they honestly doing it for the right reason? Which is one of the questions that I did ask. Anika says, it's time for the other side to truly do their part. They sat back way too long watching injustices until now it's touching them, and now they're upset. Absolutely. We should do this more to show our dollars and business matters. All right. Tamika says Black History Month. We pick a store to let them know we're serious. They'd fear us for sure. All right, which is what Pastor KL said. Go after the store, not shopping. Money is the only thing that seems to speak louder than our voices, Anika says. Sir says we fear consequences from not having a deal is the problem, and we're looking to know that my brother or sister is not going to open our own business like these corporate businesses. Anika says Brooklyn AI's statement is why I stopped buying Tommy Hilfiger years ago. He didn't like Black people wearing his clothes. I wouldn't say bankrupt, but at least let them feel it. Who is really supporting their business? Brother Al, I'm sorry. I said Brother AI, Brooklyn AI, Brother Al. I agree with Pastor KL. Terrence says, well, Terrence, you always agreeing with Pastor KL. I'm believing that you two are in cahoots together. You always believe it.
She's a hater, sir. She's a hater, Terrence.
So here's my take on what is being done, or what should be done with the this issue of where Serge says, listen, make them go bankrupt. I'm with the thought of, okay, so the purpose, like it has been said, the purpose of us boycotting was to let them know, you know what, you don't want to give these DEI programs. You pulled them off the table when Trump got into office for whatever the reason is. I'm not, like I said about the deportation, it doesn't really matter to me. You did what you did. It's done. It's being done. Plain simple as that. So you took it off the table. So now you want to bring in the DEI programs. Well, that's why we boycotted, so that you could see and now understand. Like Anika said, and like we've said before, when you hit them in the pockets, that's when everybody pays attention, because that's the only way people are affected, when it affects their pockets. I think trying to boycott them is not going to benefit us at the end of the day. First of all, I have said a million times, and it was said that what does it matter? There's going to be some casualties of war. We make these stores bankrupt. These are the stores that are hiring us. I can't tell you the last time I went in a Target and did not see and saw a white person in red and khaki. I can't tell you the last time, unless it was some big person in red and khaki with some keys jingling and signing some papers. They don't walk around the store. They're not. In other words, when we go into Walmart, when we go into, all of these places, Amazon, these places are hiring Black and brown people. That's how these people are getting their jobs. So when we make these places go bankrupt because we're trying to prove a point, Pastor KL put it, I think Brother Al put it that way. I think Pastor Jeff also said it, the forgiveness factor. Are we forgiving these people, these companies, for what they did? And where's the forgiveness at the end of the day? So whether you want to put it in the case of forgiveness, if you want to put it in the case of the fact that they're hiring us and we take the hit, because now not only do they go bankrupt, well, so do we. Where's our income coming from for those who are not as employable as those of us who can get other jobs? Shantice, do me a favor, please. Get rid of this fear God person. And I hate to do it, but I'm sorry. This is not where we need to be for this particular thing here. I think, regardless of why, I don't think bankrupting the companies is the answer. Terrence says we don't boycott these companies for them to go bankrupt. We boycott them to teach them that we're trying to convince them to take a better route and make everything equal for everyone. That's all. And that's my point. I agree. It was not to bankrupt them. It was not to take them out. It was to show them exactly what, it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about understanding that we need these programs. And it's not just employing us, but the back end of it as well. So, the boycotting and bankrupting rather is going to be a big hit for everybody. Um, you know, this buying thing. Let's talk about this really quickly. We got a couple of minutes, and I'll start with you, Brother Al. We have this issue of buying, and I'm wondering if our buying is the biblical side of how we spend our money. How can we factor this issue in with how we spend our dollars, being good stewards over our money, and all of this purchasing power? How can we merge the two?
Stop being greedy. We know to give a perfect example, like the price of eggs went up. So you get people going there and buy 8, 9 cartons of eggs. This will hold me for about 5 months. You know what I'm saying? We have to realize, like you said, we have purchasing power. We have that money to buy and to, like you said, look what's happening at Target is to say, okay, you know what, I'm not buying now. Look who you now, like stuff. So I think that we don't go out spending crazy and because I think they were saying before, it's like when something happens, people go out and just get crazy, buying up everything, don't leave something for anybody else. You don't do that. Get what you need and go. And it's like what Pastor KL said. If you say, okay, you know what, we're not shopping at Target tomorrow, people are gonna go out today and go in there and spend crazy. Realize the power that you have with the purchasing. Realize that power.
Okay. Pastor Jeff, we have a responsibility of Christians to be good stewards over our money. How does this purchasing power merge with that concept of being good stewards over our money?
Well, I mean, I think it's right there together. To be a good steward, you got to think about where you investing your money, putting your money, and not putting your money. You understand? And realize the power of money and wield that power correctly. So, I think it's hand in hand.
Okay. Pastor KL, how do we merge the two?
Yeah, you have to be wise on what you're doing. A lot of times, well, us, we're not wise and good steward over money. We're just going to spend just because we have money in our pocket. My grandmother used to say that the money is burning a hole in your hand, that you just got to get it out your hand.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
we just spend to be spending. We go to a store to get a drink, because we want a drink, and then we wind up with a whole buggy full of stuff just to go with that drink. You know what I mean? So we're not a good steward over money.
Okay. Chairman says yes, to let them know we all can become one, but Trump doesn't want that to happen. He's trying to keep us divided and make us turn ourselves against each other. All right, so I'll ask you to this. So we voted. So let's just say, for argument's sake, the Black people's stance is we told you not to vote for Trump, but you did. And now it's hitting you. Now, as Anika said, now that it's touching you, now it's all this alarm. Now, how do we correct our wrong? Are they handling it the right way, in your opinion? You know what? You voted for him. You want his hands off of stuff. Protesting is the answer, or you should do it another way. Pastor Jeff, is that how we correct our wrong, in your opinion? If we voted for somebody and now we're unhappy with the way they're doing us, is that how we're supposed to handle it?
I mean, there's probably many ways to handle it. That's one way to handle it. It's an option. Do I know the correct way to handle it? No. But, you got to do what you got to do. You made a mistake. Now rectify it.
Okay. Well, it is more than one way to skin a cat. It is more than one way to make things, right. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you correct that wrong? Because this is one of the biggest dilemmas we could ever run up against. Voting someone, it's almost like here in New York, where a lot of people voted for Eric Adams. And now it's like, get him out of here. For a lot of people, he was a big disappointment. And now it's like, we just don't vote him back in, or, this is Trump's. He's right at the beginning. Now, y'all voted him in, and here we are 4 months in, and now y'all are protesting. Pastor KL, is this one of the ways, the right way to handle because it could have been us. It doesn't necessarily have to be them. We're just saying that we're staying out of it because this is your fight. It ain't gonna work for us. But would you say that this is the way you would handle something like this? Protesting.
I say mind your business. At this point, Pastor Steph, the way I look at it, I almost equate it to, okay, you said that they voted for him and now they mad. Well, I did the crime, and now I'm mad. I got to do the time. You voted for him, and he's here now. So now you got to see him through whatever the sentence is. His sentence is just 4 years. You got to see the sentence through. I mean, what you gonna do now? So you're mad at some of the decisions that you made carelessly, and now we want to jump through hoops. The hoops are not available for you right now. This is what you did. But now we all must suffer for it. Because now when you go to jail as my son, as the father, I got to suffer because my son is in jail. So now I'm doing the time with you. So now we all doing the time on some decisions you made.
Brother Al, is this one way? It could have been us. We could have voted for somebody, and now we instantaneously regret it. Is this a way to handle? Is this maybe the best way to handle a president that we're not happy with, that we thought was going to do something? Because that's pretty much what happened. They thought he was going to do something, and again, now it's hitting them. And now this is the way they feel like they can handle it. Is this a way to handle correcting your wrong?
Yeah, definitely. And just to say on the comments you had said a few minutes ago, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. We shouldn't be skinning the cats. Okay, I love cats. Don't do that. Okay, that's number one. Don't be skinning no cats. But I do think that that's a start. I mean, we all make mistakes. It's just like we all make mistakes when we get saved and we come out there like, man, why did it take me so long to accept Jesus in my life? And should Jesus say, okay, but now you did that, get out my face. So I think it's a start. They voted for him, and it's like, okay, you know what? Dang, we made a mistake. We thought he was gonna do this and that, but you know what? We're gonna go ahead and protest him or do whatever. So I think it's a start. It's showing they got some type of heart. And like I said, unfortunately, it had to hit them to say, okay, wow, it's hurting us now. No, we got to do something. But you know what? It's a start. At least they're trying to do something.
Okay. All righty. Well, my gentlemen, thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed weekend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. All right. We got to check in from our sister Phyllis. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Terrence says Eric Adams is totally different from Trump. We assumed Eric Adams was good from what we have looked at. We knew from the jump Trump was no good. Trump was not good. From the jump start, Trump was no good. Well, that's what I'm okay. I agree. Al, yes, we all make mistakes, but how many times you going to keep accepting me and keep making these same mistakes, pretty much. All right, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. What's really happening is the same thing. Like I said, that's why I brought up Eric Adams. We knew that Trump was no good. We knew Trump was no good because we've already had a taste of Trump. We didn't vote for Trump the first go round. And he showed us who he was. And we ended up with Biden. And, we voted him in. And now Trump is, running again. And, we said don't vote for him. And we did not vote for him. The other side of the fence and people of color and, black and brown, male and female, they voted for him. And now instantaneously, he showed his true colors. 4 months. He's been in office for 4 months. And already you're complaining about something that you saw the first go round, but because it didn't hit you the same way the first go round, it didn't, it didn't affect you. You voted him in, and now you're unhappy with him and what he's doing. Well, y'all thought he was going to do right, and he ended up not doing right. Well, we thought Eric Adams was going to do right, and he did not do right in as far as some of us are concerned. So it's pretty much the same concept at the end of the day. Should we be involved with this hands-off movement protest that's going on April 5th? I say no. I say again, not so much of mind your business. That's not where I particularly go. My thing is, again, y'all need us to help your fight because y'all already know we're not happy. See, my view is you trying to use us. You know we ain't happy. So you've got an overwhelming number of you who are not happy. So how do we strengthen this? Well, we pull in the other people who we know are not happy. But see, the results for us being out there is not going to be the same as you being out there. Like it has been said, there's an issue of the possibility of martial law. If that goes into effect, it's not gonna bother y'all the way it's going to bother us. So I'm not standing the ground on mind your business because it is our business. It is our business by all means. However, sometimes I have to sit down and watch the fight opposed to be a part of the fight, because I was a part of the fight in November of 2024. I was a part of the fight and I fought and my voice didn't win. And I just have to figure out another way to fight without getting scarred up, without going to jail, not dying, not getting beat up. Because I've already been scarred, beat up, and jailed. So you're not going to use me in this fight. When had you listened to me, you wouldn't be where you are. In regards to this forgiveness factor, as we go back, now that, let's say for argument's sake, Pastor KL and Pastor Jeff said they weren't target people to really begin with. If Target and Walmart and these other, Amazon or whoever decides to pull in their DEI programs, would they go back because of the forgiveness factor? Then the answer is it should absolutely be yes. And again, that's what the whole protest was for. The protest was not to bankrupt you or to protest you forever and ever. It was to move you into understanding you need to listen to us because we're the ones that keep you running. We're the ones that keep you in business, and you need to look out for us. So if they decide to put these programs back into effect, then it would have worked. And that's what you want. You want for your movement to work. You want for your actions to work. And at that point, as we see with Target, it's working. It's working. And eventually, they're either going to have to shut their doors because they're going to stand their ground and say, listen, we don't care what they do, whether they boycott us or not. We're not doing that. We're not going to be pushed by their dollars or their numbers to go and put programs into place that we really don't want to put into place. We don't feel that it should be in place. They have every right to feel like that. So if they want to go bankrupt, then they can make the decision to go bankrupt. Or either they can say, well, you know what? This is who butters our bread. We only got the bread, but we ain't got the butter. And without the butter, our bread is useless. So we need to make this happen. So let's put these programs in place and let's make our consumers happy, because that's what you're supposed to be in business to do. You're supposed to be in business to make money while making your consumers happy. Long gone the theory that the customer is always right, because as we can see, that is definitely not the case. There's an Instagram page that is nothing but people who are unhappy, angry customers. And we need to watch that page if you can, because boy, that throws quickly out the window that the customers are always right. Because boy, oh boy, customers can bring you hell with their irrational thinking, with their irrational expectations, with their anger, with their behavior. So we know that's not correct. But if you decide to go into business, you cannot go into business expecting to make money but not do what you need to do to please the customer. There's two different things going on here. And that's what's happening now. Whatever this DEI programs mean, however it's going to benefit your consumers, then you need to be considering that. And when we were going through the Black Lives Matter period, and you jumped on the bandwagon and said, we're going to put these programs in place because, you people have been treated unfairly, and we're going to make sure that all of these things go into place so that you are getting what you deserve and you're not overlooked and blah, 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 blah. And you jumped on the bandwagon. But as soon as Trump got into office, all these companies jumped ship. There's a lot to be said for that. And we talked about that. That means that you were never really interested in the consumer at all. Places like Costco and, all these other companies who have stood their ground and said, we're not budging from DEI programs. They meant that from their heart. When they jumped on the bandwagon during the Black Lives Matter period, they did that from their heart. There was an awareness that went up and said, you know what? Can we do better for our consumers? Yes. So let's put these programs into place. And that's how we're going to operate. They didn't wait till now and where it benefited them, where it was about their dollars and who they were appeasing. And now they got rid of all of these incentives and these programs. So if somebody wakes up today and decides, you know what, we didn't do right. We jumped on the bandwagon in Black Lives Matter period. And then we jumped off the bandwagon when, Trump got into office, and they're upset. They have every reason to be upset. We got to get this right. We got to make this right. We're going to do this now. Again, like I said, like I think it was Daquan who said, how do we know if they're in it for the right reason? Well, guess what? I don't care. Same thing about the deportation. I don't care. I don't care. Everybody's mad because, well, he's just, they're just doing this because, Trump is deep. Listen, it's either right or wrong. The fact of the matter is, not to have DEI programs in place is wrong. So whether you put them in place because we didn't twisted your arm because we didn't held back our dollars, or whether you're doing it just to shut us up, I really don't care. And some people say, well, Pastor Steph, that makes no sense. I'm sorry, but we're getting what we want, because at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, the dollars being held back worked. What you want, it worked. So whether we're doing it, for one reason, or we're getting it done for another reason, oh well, it's done. Just smile, be happy. You got your programs. Everything that's done is not going to be done for the right reason, but it's going to be done. Pick your battles. If we fight everything, I know somebody, every way the wind blows, they fighting. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like I should have to do this. I don't feel like there's a couple of people I know like that. I'm like, you're going to fight everything. You're going to die fighting everything. I don't understand this. I don't understand. There may be things that are done in our lives that we don't understand. There are going to be things that's done in our lives that we don't agree. But remember, God is the one who allows this stuff to go on. For whatever the reason is, he allows it to go on. And there are going to be some things that we're going to have to do or agree with, or just have to be obedient to the land of the law. We don't always have to agree. Who says we have the right to agree with everything? Who says that everybody cares about what we think? So we just stay with God. Every day I make the petition that you stick with God. If you've decided to make him the head of your life, that you strengthen that relationship with him for a reason, because you'll begin to understand things differently. And when I say later is not promised to everybody, it's not. But if it is, you have to make the decision whether you're going to live happily or unhappily. Or what you going to do? Because it's between joy and happy. Listen, it's all the same to Stephanie. It all comes from God. So whether I want to label it happy, joy, whatever it is, it comes from God. All my happiness and my joy rests in the Lord. And I'm not going to spend my time fighting every man-made law out here because I don't agree or I don't understand, because now I'm going to be 60 years old and I have a right to fight everything. I'm not killing myself trying to prove a point. I'm going to serve God, do what I need to do, and live as happily as I can. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, my men, for taking us into a thought-provoking weekend. Thank you for hanging out with us and keeping that chat room open. As our sister Phyllis said, pray, pray, and pray again. Please do not miss this opportunity to give our lives to Christ right now. Please do not miss that opportunity to strengthen that relationship in the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us until Sunday, God spares, where it's our word prayer project. Come on in the room and see what we're praying about. Until then, God spares. I love you.